Good evening, Dhamma friends. Wish you the blessings of the Noble Triple Gem for a happy and peaceful evening. And I know some people join with us from Sri Lanka, and perhaps some of our friends watch this Sutta study video later. So we never forget to greet them. Good morning, good afternoon, and whatever time you listen to this, may you have the right mindset to understand the Dhamma, perhaps better than we explain in the Sutta study class with your experience and knowledge, so that we begin the Sutta study class with wholesome thought in mind. Today is Saturday night for us, September 24th, and there will be many more discussions like this in the near future with selected discourses. Right now, we are going to go to the Sutta we selected to discuss the Dhamma for our benefits, and whoever listen to this Dhamma discourse later on. Let me begin the Sutta study class by paying homage to the Supreme Buddha, and I'm reciting Namo Tassa in Pali and also in English to respect the Buddha, and of course it is also respect to the Dhamma and Sangha, because we are all cultivating wholesome thoughts for our benefits and everyone else. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the fully enlightened One. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the fully enlightened One. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the fully enlightened One. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Welcome, Dhamma friends. Let's begin today's Sutta studies with the specially prepared discourse for our discussion. The Sutta we selected is Maha Asapura Sutta, the greater discourse at the place called Asapura. I'm sorry if I did not send you the link for Sutta study, Sutta studies. I have a doubt now that whether you find out it in the internet. Anyway, we try our best to give the summarized version of the Sutta, or you can read it later and understand its important points later on. This Sutta, Mahasapura Sutta, is named like that because there is Chula Asapura Sutta. Maha and Chula explain the greater and the smaller. So this is the greater or the big Sutta that is delivered by the Buddha at the place called Asapura. The Asa, the Pali word or singular word, means the horse. Pura means where the horses are bred or kept or trained, something like that. So according to the story, the king of the country, Anga, saw a very beautiful white horse in this particular place, so that the place is called Asapura. So the Buddha was traveling through this place, and then he explained this discourse for monks, and also the other discourse called Chula Asapura. So that is how this name came to the discourse. But what we have in this discourse, it is about identifying a monk, a true recluse or true Brahmin. You might be finding out some information on how and which way we define a monk, and what sort of things one should have to become a great monk, a pure monk, a genuine monk. So you may come across various explanation for this, but what exactly the Buddha said about it. We can find it in this discourse. I think if you have, if you read the discourse, you can find similar statement of the Buddha in other discourses about recluseship in Buddhist teaching. So the Buddha delivered this discourse, as you see, Anga country at the town called Angas, but this is called Asapura. Then the Blessed One, or the Buddha, addressed the bhikkhus with him, and then they were ready to listen. The question Buddha asked, you are a recluse, you are a monk, you are a mendicant. By the name, you are a bhikkhu. So when people asked the meaning of your recluseship, what exactly you have to have in your life. In other words, to become a recluse, you say, you claim yourself as a bhikkhu. We are son of the Buddha Gautama. We are bhikkhus by the name. So what exactly you should have in your mind when you recognize as a monk? When you introduce you as a monk, what you should have in your life? Then we should be able to be proud ourselves about our priesthood, and we should do certain things to rely on this life. So that is what is exactly the Buddha talks in details. Let me read that paragraph for you to know what exactly Buddha say and what monks should be understanding about this Buddha's explanation. So basically the Buddha said, well, we will undertake and practice those things that make one a recluse, that make one a Brahmin, so that our designation may be true and our claim genuine, so that the services of those whose robes, alms, food, a resting place, and medical request we use shall bring them great fruit and great benefit. So, as monks, we should be able to follow basic, major, very important training principles to sustain us on the bhikkhuhood or bhikkhunihood. Then only we are true individuals who follow the Buddha's teaching as monks, and at the same time, lay people treat us as monks just because we vow ourselves to sustain in the training. In supporting our intention, they provide us 4 requisites: food, shelter, medicine, clothes, etc. So in order for people to have more merits in their activities with regard to monks, we should be able to fulfill our aspiration in monkshood. So otherwise, in Aggikhandopama Sutta and other suttas, you are eating some you are eating food and you are using people's materials, and it is dangerous as swallowing heated iron bar. Better you swallow lava or anything, any similar things to lava than eating people food because you are not doing anything in the monkhood. So it is really dangerous to be unmindful about the training principle as monks, and we would be able to execute well as monks in order to give merits for people and also to fulfill our aspiration in the teaching. So it's a kind of alarming message from the Buddha for bhikkhus. And having said that, Buddha explained various things that monks and nuns and even any person who claim their studentship under the Buddha to make their life meaningful. In other words, Buddha has been explaining categorically the things we can do to make our life meaningful. So if I read the whole discourse, it takes a long, time to complete, but I would like to discuss certain things here. And what bhikkhus are the things that make one a recluse and that make one a brahmin. So here brahmin means not those particular caste that Hindus consider as highest. At the time of the Buddha, the society has been categorized into 4 castes, and the highest was brahmin. So that very word in Buddhism is used to an arhat. So Brahmin, Bahita Papa Dhammoti Brahmano, the one who has destroyed all kinds of unwholesomeness is called an Arahant or enlightened person. And the Buddha used that word Brahma because he has practiced Metta, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka into the highest extent. The one who practiced 4 Brahma Viharas, 4 divine abodes is called a Brahma, which means an Arahant. So, in order to become a Bhikkhu or a Samana or a Brahma, what you need to practice first? Buddha said here, you should train thus. We will be possessed of shame and fear of wrongdoing. The first thing we all should understand in order to become a disciples of the Buddha is to have moral shame and fear of wrongdoing. So sometimes people are not afraid of doing bad thing. If everybody in the group is accepting certain wrongdoings, we make our mind to be a part of it. That's how gangs always connect each other and do bad things. Because the people around you accept you doing it, so that you have no problem of doing wrong thing. But if you have moral shame and fear, no matter how many people say to do it, you don't do it because you consider the demerits out of this wrongdoing. This is called Ujucha Sujucha in the Karaniya Metta Sutta. It talks about being faithful, being genuine to you, being genuine to others, being genuine to yourself. It means you do not do a wrong thing when you are alone, because you can do many things without anyone else presence, because nobody knows. But when you have that ujuja sujuja qualities, you are genuine to you. You speak to your mind. You consider the merits. You consider the demerits. If you accumulate demerits out of any such activity, you don't do it because you do not want to be in hell, in unhappy destination. So moral shame is the qualities that push us to the training. So if you have no moral shame and fear of wrongdoings, you easily kill a person, an animal. You don't think twice to steal. You do it because you have no moral shame and fear. Actually, practicing sila with understanding is coming here strongly. So with moral shame and fear, you do practice moral principle. Otherwise, you don't see any value of moral principles. Kamesu michachara, musavada, suramere, some of those precepts of the 5 precepts could be easily violated if you do not have moral shame and fear. So the first thing the bhikkhu should have is moral shame and fear of wrongdoings. So you must be mindful of minor matters. Sometimes people disregard those very little things. Okay, it's something insignificant. Don't worry, just do it. But anumattesu vajjesu bhayadassavi, you have to find out the faults of even small mistakes, so that you make a very positive move from ordinary levels to higher level, because you have been filling the holes, small holes in your sila aggregates. So Buddha asks us to be mindful about what we do and the purpose of doing, so that you have moral shame and fear. Hiri Ottappa, the Pali word. That is the Deva Dharma according to Buddhist literature, Deva Dharma means the two factors that you make a divine human. So when we say divine human, we are not expecting to be divine right after death, but with the word divine, we means you have all these essence of dharma in your mind. You are a physically human beings, but you are mentally and psychologically a saint. That's what we mean. So when you have moral shame and fear, you are not harming anybody else, because your mind is speaking about something bad happened to you, so that you prevent yourself from wrongdoings. So that is the first thing we should be able to practice. And Sutta says something interesting. When you know that you have moral shame and fear of wrongdoings, you must be thinking that I am better than others. That tukkansana paravambana, we look down upon others by thinking that we are the superior. That quality could come to us as an effect of having this moral shame and fear. Do you see that having moral shame and fear of wrongdoings is not everything? Sometimes people, for example, feel that we are better because we don't do this bad thing and that bad things. Okay, we are always up to the point of sila and so forth, so that we are better than others. So that conceit, mana, come to you without without your knowledge, so that you must be thinking that others bad, and it could come to us, come to you with your words as well. So there are instances in the sasana that some monks study well and they are scholars, and they always thought that we are better than those monks who did not know anything like us. So that is reprimanded by the Buddha. Your knowledge is some data, but you have conceit, you have so many things to do. So just get out of this mentality and treat others equally. So Buddha did not regard too much of those knowledges. So what we say here, when you have moral shame and fear of wrongdoings, you happen to think that I am right, I am up to the level of sila, oh, I'm so good. But that thought should be controlled and taken out immediately, because with that thought, with that mana, you may accumulate demerits. And if you look at what else I can do to go forward or move from this point of sila, there is another thing Buddha suggests us to do. You should train like this. Our bodily conduct shall be purified, clear and open, flawless and restrained. And we will not load ourselves and disparage others on account of that purified bodily conduct. So when you have moral shame and fear of wrongdoings, next thing you should complete is whether I have a pure bodily conduct. It means from the sila principles, you should check yourself whether I have been practicing first precepts, second precepts, third precepts of the 5 precepts. So if you do it, that means you have pure pure bodily conduct, kaya sangvar. So you are not doing any bad things using your body. Killing living beings is prohibited and abandoned completely. Stealing, sensual misconduct, sexual misconduct, those are the things you basically abandon completely. So when you know that, you feel joy, but do not disregard others as really bad as you think. They might be doing some wrong things, but it is not your positions to look them down upon and putting you into a higher position. These are done by those individuals mentally. Conceit come to us in even when we are in the good track. When we practice Dhamma, we measure ourselves as really good compared to others. That is really bad. because demerits you accumulate from this mana is so subtle, and you may not be able to get out of it with usual practices, because we develop mana and ignorance together with mana. So right after having moral shame and fear of wrongdoings, you should work on pure pure actions by body. Then Buddha talks about verbal conduct should be purified and clean too. You should. It is a practice actually. People think that meditation and related things to meditation are only practices. But friends, right speech should be practiced. It is very hard to practice. In this modern society, people talk about the mental purity through verbal, conduct, and people always say that it is really difficult, Bante, because at the workplace we have to tell lies, and in the road, in the marketplace, in the train, because you are in a race and you have to go with the current of the other people. So sometimes people say, Bante, we have to violate certain rules in order to survive in this society. That has been always talked. But friends, when you come to spiritual practice, we can practice truth speaking, and speaking nice words, and speaking words to connect people, not to divide, and meaningful word for your mental peace. These are the 4 types of positive speeches the Buddha talks about. So that should be practiced. That should be practiced really. How do we practice? When you come across situation where people talk something nonsense, you just keep in mind that is this the Buddha asks us to prohibit, because it is not beneficial for me and everybody else here. So why should I engage with this discussion? So you can listen to without talking. You can listen to those conversations without talking, without contributing. And if you see some people talk about some harsh word, really quickly you put your mind into the right track. Oh, this is the one, this is the thing Buddha talks about by the name of Parusavacha. They are really hurting people. I never talk about like that. So you bring the Dhamma into your mind when you hear those negative words. So you intend to speak good words. It just like you have fire out appearing in front of you, and you put water into it. By speaking good words, by speaking nice words, you put fire, you put water into fire to make the fire extinct. So something like that could be practiced. Actually, when we became monks at the age of 10 to 11, 12 and so on, the first couple of years we are trained to speak as monks, because we were young boys who speak various things, and the first couple of lessons our teachers ask us to practice is speaking nicely, speaking these good words. And this is how monks speak the dharma. This is how monks speak to lay devotees. Perhaps they are in your young age, but you are not going to behave like that. So we got that training, and we try our best to practice, and something like that could be done by everybody. I know that you are very good in speech, so no need to go on over and over, but the emphasis is there always. You go from the beginning. Anupubba Sikha, Anupubba Kiriya. Gradual teaching should be there always. So right after moral shame and moral fear of wrongdoing, we had what you call pure bodily conduct, then verbal conduct, then mental conduct. Trivida Sucharita in Pali. Being pure with 3 ways is really needed for monks to claim as good monks. Then we move on to the next one. It talk about right livelihood. when you feel that you have very pure actions, words and thinking, your life is going to be a very meaningful one. In the Noble Eightfold Path, we have Samma Ajiva, that right livelihood, living according to the Dhamma is mean by that. So if you are a monk, you have certain way of living, and if you are a lay person, you live up to the Dharma, with 5 precepts and moral shame and so forth. So that is what is mentioned in the next factor, right livelihood. So at the end of each factor, you may the individual might think that I am okay, I am perfect, but we have to level that thought into the certain extent, because mana could arise us, so that we should be careful that we should not categorize people, we should not compare people with us. So we always go without comparison. So if you are going to compare yourself with everybody else in your place, you are going to make a mistake. Then we talk about all these things we so far discuss, make our sila perfect. Bodily action, verbal action, mental action, being able to understand what is good and bad and shame on it. And then, of course, making sure that you have perfect living as a bhikkhu and bhikkhuni based on sila. They are all talking about the sila aggregate, sila kanda. Now we move on to certain level of experience, being able to practice moral principles into a great extent. Now you are trying to restrain your senses. This is a little bit harder, because your eyes, ears, the nose, tongue, and the body are designed to take information in. The breeding ground of our mind is these 6 senses, salayatana. So it's very hard for many people to restrain on the 6 senses, because it's a bit of training as well as understanding the Dif Dhamma. But with the perfection of sila, you can easily protect your mind. Gutva dvara. Dwara, I have explained it earlier. Dwara means doors. Gutta means blocked or guard or closed. So you must be acting like person who is blind, who is deaf, and also you have to close your nose, tongue, and the whole body. You assume that you have blind and deaf means you do not take information into your mind when you see pictures from your eyes, when you hear sounds from your ears, and so forth. In Indriya Bhavana Sutta, the last sutta of the Majjhima Nikaya, Buddha talks about the importance of restraining senses, and that is the very point you enter into the deep Dhamma, where you seek mental peace, higher peace and happiness, right? So Indriya Sangvara, or restraint of the senses, should be practiced in order to claim you as a monk, claim you as a Brahmana, according to the Buddha's teaching. So in order to affiliate yourself as a upasaka and upasika, you also should have sense restraint into a great extent. Otherwise, you must be cultivating sensual pleasures and all sort of hindrances. You can be a upasaka and upasika with some sort of defilement, but there is no progress for you from the upasaka level to the spiritual advancement. So it's up to everyone, but particularly to claim you as a monk and or a bhikkhu or bhikkhuni, you have to have sense restraint. Then moderation in food, that is really significant. People quickly think that this factor is talking about the amount of food we eat. No, friends. You can eat 2 plates, 3 plates, or any number of food items depending on the size of your stomach. It's fine. It is not what we are talking about. Moderation in eating. Moderation in food, according to Buddhism, is about the purpose of eating, right? The Buddha sometimes ate, full of patra, bowl, with various delicious food items. Sometimes he went to slums areas and begged food and ate some very rough, solid food, no taste at all. Sometimes he was invited by the kings and millionaires and fed with various delicious food items. So even the Buddha did not, find moderation uh, according to that statement. Therefore, the Buddha mean here the moderation in food, the purpose of eating. I think you all listen to the statement we recite before eating. Patisankaya uniso pindapatang patsevami, nevadavayana madayana, and so forth. It means that we eat not for beautification, not for muscles, improvement, not for, bodybuilding, not for any other sports and make us beautiful and so on. But we say here with the statement, this is to end pain, hunger, and any possibility of sicknesses, because I'm trying to purify my mind up to the enlightenment. So the very purpose of my living is Brahma Vihara, living as a Brahma, living as an Arhan, until I achieve this very special, goal. I eat to survive. I eat for this purpose. So if you have this intention in mind in eating, you do never become a slave of taste. You eat for something else. This is what we talk about moderation in food. It's not selecting, cholesterol free, sugar free food, and eating slowly and eating only vegetable. No, they are not considered with this very fact. It is about the intention of food. So to claim you as disciples of the Buddha, as bhikkhu and bhikkhuni, you should find the moderation of eating. You would be able to satisfy with the pindapata you got. You are not going to a rich area where you get various food items. Perhaps you are close to a very poor village. You find the solace and happiness by being in that village. So that monk doesn't find food, delicious food item. He considers very much the peace and happiness with those area where there are no food items. So there are such stories in the Dharma literature that some monks rely on very little things because they love to live in the forest area because of the practice they could do. So moderation in food. And then sati sampajanya, right before that, being able to, practice meditation without sleeping during the day. The monk would be able to practice, jagari anutta. It means you are always awakened. You are always full of awakened to the reality. So when you eat food, there is a tendency of sleeping, but monks do not do that. According to the Vinaya rule, according to the Dhamma, they have to practice. They should be able to control it. They lie down mindfully just to give some rest for the body to digest the food you ate, but it is not sleeping. So when you sleep with food, it becomes a bad habit and it is a close call for all kinds of illnesses. So that wakefulness or being able to stay awake and mindful after eating during the day, and practicing meditation is something we need to practice in order to preserve our priesthood. So right after that, the Buddha talks about practicing clear comprehension, sati sampajanya, both mindfulness and wisdom together. So I didn't repeat the same thing right after each factors, but I would like to remind you the statement of the Buddha after each factor. When you complete one section and go to another, in between, you are not thinking that I'm better than everyone, I'm better than others. That is not a good quality for a bhikkhu or bhikkhuni or lay person. Why do we say this? Because it is showing your mana. One of the fetters is mana, and it is been pulling out from our mind when we attain to arahantship. It could be inviting other unwholesomeness. That's why it is so dangerous. So Venerable Tissa, I think a relative of the Buddha, behaved in such a way that I am a royal. I am a relative of the Buddha. So everybody should treat me because I am from Sakyan clan. Venerable Tissa thought like that. But the Buddha called him and make various cases on him, saying that you are a disgrace for all these Sakyaputtas. You do not have those wonderful qualities of a monk, and keeping those family pedigree and other things in mind, you are not you make others unhappy too. So Buddha reprimanded Venerable Tissa of having such mana, so that Buddha never forget to tell us, okay, you practice this, but don't think that you are superior to others. Don't think in such a way. So we have been talking so far those qualities to have for becoming a great monk and nun. What are those qualities? Moral shame and fear of wrongdoings, hiriotappa. Then pure bodily conduct, pure verbal conduct, and pure mental conduct, and right livelihood, and then sense restraint, then moderation in food, and wakefulness, being able to stay away from sleepiness during the day and even halfway through at night, and practice meditation. And now we talk about mindfulness with wisdom, called sati sampajanya, clear comprehension. So these are the gradual practices we all should understand and do little by little. I invite you to do them, test them, and perhaps the difficult area you have is mental conduct, verbal conduct, and sense restraint. I believe, I know that many of you are very good with moderation in food. It could be done. You eat food for 3 times or 2 times of the day, maybe a couple of tea breaks and coffee and so on. So if you really think about this consumption, you can take that idea, okay, I eat this for survival. I drink this coffee just for thirsty. So without attachment, without craving, you can consume food, and that is really encouraging you to practice Dharma. So try to do it. So as far as I understand, because I know many of those participants in the Zoom and also in the live stream, personally I know them. So you are good at many practices here, but I believe we also should work on verbal, conduct, and then mental conduct, because restraining your mind is so difficult. Everybody until Sotapanna level, Sakadagami level, should work on this mental impurities, and then very refined and subtle practices are like this. clear comprehension. Being able to notice each and every single physical, mental behavior is really difficult. But they are set in the first section of the training principle, because that is required for one to gain samadhi. So right after these 9 factors, starting from moral shame and fear, we talk about in the sutta the practicing effective meditation. When we say effective meditation, it means we take a meditation subject like breathing, metta, maybe 9 stages of the dead body, maybe mindfulness on death, maybe other meditation subject. We go to a particular silent place and take the meditation subject and train our mind to gain one-pointedness, concentration. So that is called effective meditation. Earlier, we talk about meditation. Gradual progression is there always in our mind. But right now, we take the highway towards peace and happiness. That's called karmasthana meditation. So effective meditation is talk about in that we deal with the 5 hindrances: sensual pleasures, ill will, sloth and torpor, sleepiness and drowsiness. That's what I mean, and restlessness and worry, and skeptical doubt. So these are the representative of lobha, dosa, moha, or ashrava, or fetters. So we have to deal with them positively with a strong mind. And the background is already done with other 9 factors. So now it would be easier for bhikkhus and bhikkhunis to deal with 5 hindrances. As a result, you attain to first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, and fourth jhana. I invite you to read the discourse, especially this area where we talk about the first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, and fourth jhana, because there are nice similes there. Sorry, parables there to understand what kind of spiritual happiness is there when you attain to first jhana. And it is likened to a man taking a loan, and later on he paid it fully. So when a person takes a loan from a money lender or an accredited bank, until you pay it back, you are not in peace. You remember that I have a loan, I have to pay it. If something happened to me, if my job is losing me, how could I pay it? So you are in a desperate situation always when you have a loan. But how about if you work so hard and earn a lot of money and pay the loan back and you are released? So it is quite likened to suppression of sensual pleasures. When you have sensual pleasures active in your mind, you are not peaceful. Another simile I remember here, it is also from a discourse. So clear water, you suppose that you have a basket with clear water. Now you can see through. You can reflect. If the water is not shaken and disturbed, you can reflect yourself. But how about if you put the colors like blue, red, yellow, orange, green, and so on? Now can you see the bottom of the basket? No. Now can you see yourself clearly? No, because it is colorful. Earlier it was pure. So when you have sensual pleasures, the Pali word for sensual pleasure is kama chanda. You cannot see the depth of anything. You cannot fully understand certain things you want to understand, because your mind is fully ignorance with sensual pleasures. Your mind is covered by sensual pleasures. So therefore Buddha talks about the sensual pleasures and its danger in greater details than other things in my understanding. So first thing the monk should do in the meditation is to overcome sensual pleasures. It's easier to talk, but very difficult to do, because all the time you live, your senses are giving information. They are enticing your mind. They are provocating your mind to get something unwholesome. So, covetousness or sensual pleasure is compared to a loan we take, because when we have a loan, we are not in peace. We are bound to something. We are not free. But when you pay it back, you are free from the loan, so that the freedom you experience is so much. Likewise, when you overcome sensual pleasures, you are in a great freedom. So in the after that, in the discourse, it is said, abandoning ill will is likened to a situation of a man who was sick, right? And this man takes medication and medicine, and then he got free from the illness. When you are sick, you feel pain and you are desperate, hopeless, no physical and mental peace at all with the sickness. But when you get well and you feel joy, you are happy. So when you have ill will, it is likened to a situation where you physically ill. And when you recover, that situation is compared to compared to the situation that you don't have anger, ill will. You have compassion and kindness. It is so gorgeous. It is a very nice feeling. And in the discourse, sloth and torpor, when you have sloth and torpor, that means tinamidda. It's technically called dislikeness for doing something great, something positive. Some people don't like to practice meditation. Some people don't like to listen to Dhamma. Some people don't want something in Buddha's teaching, because it's talking about annihilation, according to some people. It's talking about getting away from these beautiful things in the world. Some people say that. So that is called Thinamidda. When it comes to simple definition, we can call it sleepiness, but sleepiness is coming because with regard to the Dhamma practices, because you dislike Dharma. So it is compared to a person in prison. Suppose you are in jail, your freedom is blocked. But when you are released from the prison, you are free. You can do whatever you want. So when you free from sleepiness and drowsiness, Thinamidda, you experience so much joy, and you are alert. You have wakefulness, and you have other important Dhamma elements also. So next, restlessness and worry, Uddacha Kukucha. It's really the mind that is not staying well, steady. It is always looking for something new, and it is compared to slavery. When you are blocked by doing your own thing because of your nature. Suppose you are sold out for some certain task, and you have freedom for mobility, so you are in a slavery. But when you free from that, there is so much joy. You happen to hear those people who are in custody and put into different works without their willingness. So they talk about how bad it is, and when they got freedom, they feel joy and happiness. Perhaps we never felt that kind of situation in our life. So when you overcome Uddacha Kukucha, you are not a slave of craving. You are not a slave of unwholesomeness, ignorance. So you are free from all these things. The joy is so much. And then doubts. It's like suppose you have so many valuable items in your possession, and you cross through area where thieves surround, the sense of security is zero. So you have so many valuable things in you. Suppose you cross over that area and come to a safe area, how peaceful you are now. So when you overcome doubt, you have that kind of feeling. So Buddha gave these parables in the discourse Mahasapura just to encourage us to practice jhana, overcome hindrances and practice jhana. So when you are in first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, and fourth jhana, your peace of mind is different from. At least to attain to first jhana, make sure that you overcome the 5 hindrances, and it is compared to having soap or whatever water in your body. Suppose you go under a shower and open the tap, and now you are having a bath. So your whole body is get wet with water. Suppose you apply oil in your body, everywhere in your body, so your body is ointed with oil. So likewise, when you overcome hindrances, your whole body is in ecstasy and relaxed mode, and no pain at all physically you feel. So it's a very nice situation. So when you go to the second jhana, that situation is much higher than the first one, because the samadhi is improved there, because vitaka vichara is are overcome there. Your mind doesn't talk about anything yet, but stay in samadhi. That is the very significant thing in the second jhana. And it's like the pond, that water come from the bottom of the earth. So there are ponds that water is collected from different channels, but there are ponds in the forest in your area, perhaps that water is coming from those sources of water under the pond. So this water is cool. This water is not hot, even the hot summer. So likewise, when you go to the second jhana, concentration is developed there very much, so that your internal peace is so powerful. So third jhana is a place where many mendicants, many bhikkhus, many people enjoy the peace and happiness, because it is a level of equanimity. All the noble people stay in the third jhana much more than the first one and second one, because the rising of equanimity is visible there. So the Buddha compared the lotus flower of the pond to the person who attained the third jhana, because the lotus flower started from the mud, and now it came out of the mud, and also the water level now it is in the space, giving beauty and fragrance to the entire surrounding area. The one who attained to the third jhana is cutting off of all these barriers, obstacle in the second jhana, and now you are having some sort of equanimity. And the equanimity is really developed up to the highest level in the fourth jhana. The mindfulness is developed, concentration is developed up to the 100%, and then it is compared to a man who wears white clothes and covered. The man is covered with white clothes completely, so that the fourth jhana is a place of various elements in the Dharma. So having said that, Buddha always remember to tell these monks that don't be conceited. Don't think that you have done your duty completely. Don't develop mana there that you are right and up to the highest level. Because sometimes the level of samadhi, level of peace tells you that you are done so much, so you are superior to others. Mana could arise even in jhana level. So Buddha give that alarm to the monks to be mindful about such feeling. Don't go to look them others down upon that and show up you as a better person. So having said the jhanic experiences, as many places in the Tripitaka, the Buddha talks about gaining three important knowledges, as you know, Chutupapata, first Pubbe Nivasanusati and Chutupapate Nasavakya. So monks and nuns and even lay people can do it if you follow the gradual training as said in the discourse. You have to have moral shame and fear of wrongdoings and practice three types of pure conducts. Then find the moderation in eating, and then also right livelihood should be maintained always. Then mind clear comprehension, being able to stay awake, and also taking the meditation subject. It's a brave step in the training. Once practicing Satipatthana is a brave step in the training. It could not be done by many people if they are not ready for it. People are to practice meditation because they want to attain enlightenment. But we see that many people are not ready for that state because they haven't done Sila section and the related section around the Sila section to be able to practice Karmasthana meditation. So practicing Samadhi is a very important section of the training because without clear mind, you cannot practice Vipassana. People do Vipassana, but the progress is very slow because they don't know what Samadhi is. They are unable to bring Samadhi through Vipassana technique so that they fail. But the real message for us here in the discourse that you have to go from the very beginning and then slowly you sustain your monkhood, priesthood, bhikkhuhood, bhikkhunihood, and lay fellowship so that you can bring all these Dhamma into effect in your mind. And when you come to Samadhi, not for once, but many times, because Buddha talks about being maturity with Samadhi. So then you can direct your mind to say your own past, like the Buddha did under the Bodhi tree. So you say you are here because of the previous life and karma you did in previous life. And you see why you were in that previous life because of the previous karma before the previous life. And you see the chain of continuity from nowhere in the samsara up to now, so that you find that the impermanence is happening always. Then you of course see Chutupapata jnana in you, which means not only myself, everybody else has the same journey from many lifetime, and you are not going to go over and over, but to some extent, so that you of course find the solution for that. It is craving and ignorance. Me and everybody else are taking this in taking us in this samsara. In other words, ignorance, avidya and tanha are the main cause of this repeated birth and death. So you come to a conclusion that it is asava by the name of ignorance and craving did this problem, so you destroy asavas. First knowledge, second knowledge, and third knowledge is being completed. With the destruction of asavas, what you do is attaining the real knowledge on Four Noble Truths. In other words, you understand the Four Noble Truths completely, so that your reclusive is really completed. In the discourse at the last paragraph, last couple of paragraphs is about some designation for arahantship. Let me read one. a bhikkhu such as this is called a recluse. So if you follow the principles in the discourse from the beginning to the end, the Buddha Buddha said here, we can call him a recluse, a Brahmin, and he has washed all the defilement and attained to the knowledge and holy scholar. He's a holy scholar and he's a noble person and he has an arhat. And we have those designations for him, like Shramana. He could be called as a Shramana. He could be called as a Brahmana. He could be called as Nahataka and Vedagu. He's a real guru who knows much of mind and body and the world, and he could be called Satya, a special one, and also Arya and Arahat. So that is what we found in the discourse. So this is for bhikkhus and bhikkhunis according to the Asapura Sutta. But what do you take from this discourse is the same thing. You are not worrying about your status, whether you are a bhikkhu or bhikkhuni or layperson. You want the enlightenment. If you attain enlightenment, you have to be a bhikkhu. You have to be a bhikkhuni, right? You don't worry about leaving your household alive. It doesn't matter. Being, being good with actions, words, and thinking is really important for you. And then having moral shame and fear of wrongdoing is really good for you, and it should be there in your character. Then sense restraint is really required for going forward, moving forward in the noble training. And moderation in eating, the purpose of eating, purpose of the consumption of food and other things should be known and practiced. And then sati sampajanya is really required. And gaining samadhi in your busy lifetime, in the lay life, samadhi is the most important thing you should have. So all these gradual training in sila and also samadhi is required. And talking about wisdom, panya, is also talked here in a spreaded way, in a deepest way, everywhere. So practicing sila, samadhi, and panya is being talked in this Asapura Sutta, in my understanding. So I think this is another important discourse for you to encourage yourself in the training. So that's all I wanted to share in today's Sutta study class. So we can open up the session for you to speak up. If you have any concern, you may. Yes, I see Chandrainona raise her hand.
Venerable sir, I have something to verify. Like all the time, the monks bless us like Abhivadana Silissa, Nicham Vadda Pachayano, Chattaru Dhamma Vadanti, Ayuvanno Sukambalang. Is this these great qualities that is expressed in this as an energy to bless?
The meaning of this stanza should be known first for the sake of others' understanding. Abhivadana Selissa Nichang Vadda Pajana. If you respect the worthy people always with obeisance and also worshipping, Abhivadana Selissa Nichang Vadda Pajana, 4 qualities in you are going to develop. What are the 4 qualities? Ayu, Vanno, Sukambalang. It is said your lifespan is going to increase. Ayu, Vanno, the complexion, I mean, suppose when you see, you feel, others feel very pleasant about you. That is called Vanno. It's not the color of the skin, but it is the pleasant attitudes in you. That also is going to develop because of this high regards for noble people with worship and respect. Ayuvanno. Sukha means happiness. It could be both physical and mental happiness into a certain degree. Balang means basically mental power, but it could be physical power also, because when you have mental power, you have physical power too into a great extent. So when you know the noble people and give you high regards and respect, these four qualities are developing in you. So that's how we say to you, and you accept with in silence. So the tradition goes like this. This is uttered by monks and nuns, and you listen to it, and then right after you accept it by reciting Silavantang, Gunavantang, and so forth. But we don't find this happen during the time of the Buddha or later period, but it's a later additions to the practice of the sasana with Vinaya. So even we recite this stanza when we worship the high esteemed monks, and they would sometimes recite this stanza for us. So that is how the basically relationship is built between monks and nuns. So did you say that this behavior is connected to this discourse?
Yes, Venerable.
Into a certain extent, because when you have a monastic life, you always associate your teachers or your preceptor or other teachers who guide you, and also fellow monks and nuns in the same training. And you have to have that sort of respectful behavior for them, verbally, physically, and mentally. And in Mahagopalika Sutta, as we discussed recently, it is always required for you to progress yourself. Conceit, mana, as you rightly pointed out, could arise in us with some sort of mental development. For example, you overcome 5 hindrances. You feel that I am so and so, and because the bliss you have is asking you to claim that you are an arahant, because you don't feel any unwholesomeness. So you might even going beyond the teacher. For example, suppose you attain first jhana and you are so peaceful, you live with it and so on, and now still your teacher come and say, okay, do this, help the other monk. So if you really do not recognize that mana in your mind, if perhaps you have it and you recognize it, and try your best to overcome it, but if you don't recognize it, you might say to you, oh, my teacher is asking me doing this and that, he because I should continue my meditation. How could he ask me to do this because I am so and so now? So there were a couple of examples for us as monastic who did that kind of things, and that is ignorant, that is conceit. They ended up losing samadhi later on, and it would be very difficult for them to get it, because they assume that they are sane. They assume that they are not able to advise by teachers because they are in higher position. So these demerits create them very bad situation later on. So yes, I think sense of respect to the teacher genuinely, and keeping that level in your mind always, take you away from mana in between these practices. Thank you for showing that. Yes, we have Nimal Mahatma with raised hand.
Yeah, Bante, just questions regarding, do all the arahants have the ability to recollect their past lives, as well as the other knowledge, that is to see passing away and reappearance of all beings, or just only some arahants have those abilities?
Thank you for the question, Simal Mahatya. No, not all Arhants had it. And also, this not only this recollection of his own fast and everybody others. No, some Arhants did only the third knowledge. Panya Vimutta Arhants means they destroyed all kinds of craving and they are Arahants, but they don't have those Cheto Vimutta means super knowledges, jhanex, higher attainments. The both side and you attain to enlightenment is called Ubato Bhaga Vimutta. You develop the samadhi. Of course, both arahants develop samadhi into highest extent because everybody has to complete the noble eightfold path, and the 37 factors of enlightenment are being completed, so that samadhi is with all these panya vimutta also, liberated through wisdom. They are called liberated through wisdom. Others liberated in both ways. They developed pancha abhinya also. They can do miracles. They can go disappear here and appear somewhere else, and they go to the heaven, and they use their super knowledges in various ways to help others. But the liberated through wisdom, they cannot do such thing. Susima Sutta is a clear examples of those arahants who liberated through wisdom. They saw the impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and non-self nature of five skandhas and destroy three kinds of asavas. That's all they have as their essence. So the answer to your question is not every arahant can recollect their past lives, and others they are special knowledges. So the Buddha talks about those knowledges when he talks about the full package of arahantship. But he has talked in other places about liberation through wisdom also. It's a kind of additional skills, I believe. You attain full enlightenment with all kinds of skills. It's just like you get a merit pass from your degree, but you can have just pass also. So you are qualified for a better job there. But with merits, with distinction, with first class honor, you are fully recognized, and the things you could do would be better because you absorb more knowledge, more experience, and you have done other courses that are not relevant to the degree, something like that. So personally, I like to be an arahant with all the qualities, but you have to have skills. You have to develop those meditative experiences further. In my understanding, you have to stay a longer period with practicing samadhi in order to fulfill your aspiration of being Ubato Bhaga Vimutta. It is appreciated by the Buddha in some places, but sometimes Buddha asks us to hurry up and attain enlightenment, because there is no guarantee that you have bad people around you and bad association with, then bad dharma, negative dharma come to you, and you can be a part of it. So demerits could be accumulated in your karma account. So anything could happen. So that hurry up and cross over the flood of suffering and make sure that you are enlightened. That's what Buddha said at last of his life.
So that means, so when you gain some samadhi to some extent, so if you want to hurry up, then the best thing is to switch that to what's that? Vipassana meditation.
That is the best. And even with the vipassana, we have no clear indication that you cannot gain those super experiences when you do vipassana. You could, but vipassana is designed for destruction of craving. Because some monks did vipassana and they could actually achieve higher samadhi. A lot of people think that Venerable Sariputta do not have those samadhi because he practiced vipassana from his life story. We can see that he practiced vipassana, but he was also doing those miracles like Venerable Moggallana and other monks in Sutta, in Brahma Sangyutta. He also went to divine world with psychic powers. So true, when you have samadhi, if you want to attain enlightenment, direct your mind towards destruction of craving and asava. But from the basis of samadhi, you can stay longer experiencing Cheto Vimutti, attainment to Akasananchayatana, Vinyananchayatana, Akinchanayatana, Neosanyayatana, to refine your mind further on the path, and also develop Sanya Vedati Nirodha, and being able to, listen to, sounds that normally human beings cannot do. Dibba Chaku, Dibba Sota, Parajita Vijanini, Divida, and Cheto Pariyaya, Yatapakamupagatanyana. So you can direct your mind towards these things as well. So I don't find any statements that the Buddha asked monks not to achieve these super knowledges. And I do not find Buddha, I do find Buddha say, hurry up, appamadena sampadeta, but I do not find Buddha rejected of having these knowledges. It's up to the individual. If you want to follow these, samadhi experiences further, get those knowledges, do it, it's fine. But make sure that you are going to destruction of craving, because having samadhi alone doesn't make any sense. Because if you ended up your life with samadhi experiences, you are reborning in Brahma realm, particular Brahma realm, and you might fall down from there to a lower level where all kinds of problem could begin again. So we want to make sure whether we destroy the craving after gaining these knowledges.
Thank you, Bhante.
You're welcome. So I think we should end today's session. We managed to discuss the important points of Asapura Sutta. I would encourage you to read the whole discourse to find out details of it. It's maybe 10 pages. I think that's long. You might find repetition. If you read suttas as a habit, you directly find repetition and also main point, so that you would be not reading each word, but you could find salient major point quickly. So learn how to read discourses like that. So I think reading Asapura Sutta is giving you some encouragement in your practice, and I wish may these merits by participating in the Sutta discussion be with you really, to make you peaceful throughout the day, throughout the night, and may be able to deal with the hindrances. That is the main target you should have in mind in terms of fighting with the unwholesomeness. If you are able to suppress the 5 hindrances, you are in samadhi, and it is a particular state where you do something extraordinary, either to develop special knowledges or to destroy craving, asava, or whatever you mentioned, you would like to mention. So may these merits be with you for that ends, and wishing you in such a way. I'm going to end today's discussion. May you all be well, happy, and peaceful. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.